Chengli and the Silk Road Caravan, Chapter 15. Chengli awoke in the gloom and silence of a tent. He rubbed his wrists and found that they were not bound. He turned his head to look across the tent. A mistake. Pain shot down his neck and across his shoulders. He groaned and lay still, praying to the mountain spirits for help. "Wake up!" came a voice. "Wake up!" He forced open his eyes, and Mei Ling's face came into focus. "Shh!" she whispered. "Hawes's men found us. They're outside." "Where are we?" Chengli whispered back. "Why aren't we tied up?" "They don't have to tie us," she said. "They are clever. This tent has camel bells sewn all along the bottom edge, so if anyone lifts the tent walls, the bells will sound and alert the guards." "Is there a guard?" Chengli asked. "Of course, 2 of them, sitting right outside the door flap." Chengli closed his eyes and rubbed his aching head. "What now, old Whitebeard? What do I do now?" He ran his hands through his short cropped hair and rolled his shoulders to rid them of their stiffness. Failed, failed, failed again. The words ran around and around in his head. In disgust, he lay back on the carpet. He opened his eyes and looked without seeing. A circle of light shone into his eyes. He squinted. The light made his head hurt. Light? The smoke hole! His vision cleared, and he stared at the opening. He signaled to get Mei Ling's attention, and then nodded upward. "The smoke hole! We will get out through that!" he whispered. "Come on!" "Impossible!" Mei Ling mouthed without a word. "No, really. We can't move the cloth at the bottom of the tent, you're right. But that would shake the tent and make the bells sound. But the tent is made with layers of strong felt. Once we're outside, we can grab hold of the felt and lower ourselves slowly down the outside, hand over hand. I'll go first, and then I can help you. We can climb to the smoke hole if we stand on that." And he pointed to a small table. "Wait, let me check on the guards." Mei Ling peeked through the crack where the door flap let in light. "They're not thinking of us at all. They're watching the horses get ready for the dispute of the sheep." She moved back into the center of the tent. "I'm sure they'd rather be riding in the game than sitting there on the stones. The field is cluttered with horses. Listen to the yelling and the shouting out there." Chengli sat up. "And the horses neighing and hooves pounding. The game must be starting." She peeped out again. "Yes, the guards are standing, trying to see the action." "Perfect for us," Chengli said. "Hurry!" He pulled a low table to the center of the tent under the smoke hole. Mei Ling dragged over a thick cushion, and together they shoved it onto the table. Chengli climbed up. It wasn't high enough, so they added another cushion. He tried again and was able to touch the circle of wood that supported the opening. "It may work," he said softly. "Even if the guards turn around, they won't think to look up. I'll hoist myself up. You help by pushing up on my feet. That's it." He stopped. "Wait, I've got to get something." He eased himself down, went over to the wall where a hat hung on a peg. Reaching up, he yanked 3 eagle feathers from the top of the hat and stuck them under his belt. "What are those for?" asked Mei Ling. Chengli's only answer was a grin as he climbed back onto the cushions and reached again toward the smoke hole. Gradually his head, then his arms, poked out of the hole. Mei Ling shoved from below, and carefully, silently, he pulled himself out and lay stretched on the back side of the round tent top. "Your turn. Stretch up," he whispered. "You can do it." He reached down into the hole until he felt Mei Ling's hands. He pulled until she could grasp the wooden ring of the smoke hole. Then he caught her under her arms and pulled her until her head and her shoulders wiggled out. She rolled inch by inch out onto the tent top, pulled out her feet, and began the silent task of lowering herself to the ground. She balanced on one and then another of the ropes that lashed the felt tent sides into place. Chengli followed. When he reached the ground, he stood still, listening, thinking. Now what? He imagined Whitebeard standing there with them, and he talked to the old grandfather in his head. He had learned one thing. He could plan. And plans didn't have to be made in advance. You could make up plans quickly. And a good plan, Chengli glanced around, a good plan was when you tried to think of what would happen next. From here he could go straight across the stream and up the mountain to the horse. But what happened next would be that someone would see them and capture them again. He looked to his left, along the back of the remaining yurts, and away from the commotion of the galloping horses. All he saw were some meandering sheep and a few clothes hung over a bush to dry. The clothes looked like women's clothes, embroidered in bright red, blue, and yellow. The sheep munched grass just beyond the clothes. "That's it. Come on," Chengli whispered. "I'm used to sheep from my life with Hojanias, so just walk slowly as if we are caring for the sheep and don't look back." He led Mei Ling to the bushes behind the tents and lifted off 2 skirts from the bush. Her puzzled look disappeared. She grinned and pulled down a jacket, vest, and 2 headscarves. Hugging their treasures, they moved behind the last yurt and put their new clothes on right over the old. The long skirts had to be fastened up under their arms, but the strange fit was covered by the jacket and vest. Mei Ling giggled. "Here we go. 2 girls taking their sheep to higher pasture." Chengli pointed down the valley, away from the crowds, and also away from the path to their horse. He picked up a stick and prodded the sheep into line. "Move gently. Move slowly," he cautioned quietly. They moved down the valley, following the sheep, until they saw an open space high on the hill along the edge of the forest. "There's a good place to take sheep. When we get up there, we can leave the sheep and duck into the forest." Chengli drove the sheep across the stream and up the hill. The hill was steep. The sheep were slow. Chengli glanced back and saw people gathered near the bushes. "Wondering what happened to their clothes," he said. Mei Ling looked back. "They're pointing up here," she breathed. "They know who we are." "Run!" shouted Chengli. "They're sending a dog!" The yapping of the dog grew louder as it bounded up the hill. "Over here!" Chengli yelled. "The path bends out of their view. Get behind me. I'll take care of the dog." He grabbed a fallen tree branch and turned to face the attacking dog. Barking ferociously, it leaped at Mei Ling and bit into her arm. "Ah!" Mei Ling screamed as blood spurted from the wound. The dog jumped up for another attack, but Chengli lunged at it with all his strength. The tree branch made contact. The dog whimpered and lay still. "I'm dying! I'm dying!" sobbed Mei Ling as she dropped to the ground. "And you've killed that dog!" "You're not dying, and neither is the dog," grunted Chengli. "It's just stunned and already waking up." He grabbed at the scarf tied around his head and yanked it down over the dog's feet. "This will hold him still," gasped Chengli. "It's the hobble I use on our camels." He pulled the scarf in 2 loops around the dog's forelegs and forced them close together. Another loop yanked the left hind tight against the other 2. He quickly knotted the 3 legs together and jumped out of reach as the dog woke up. It snapped and snarled, but could only thrash around helplessly on the ground. Chengli pulled Mei Ling toward the trees. "That dog bit right through your arm," Chengli said. "Give me your headscarf. I'll wrap it around the wound as tight as I can. That should stop the bleeding. We'll have to clean it, but we can't stop now. We'll clean it at the first stream we find." As Chengli worked, Mei Ling groaned, clutching at her arm, and fought back tears. "We've got to get out of here," Chengli said, looking back. "I can't see anybody. That means they can't see us. Here, drop the vest and your stolen skirt. I'll do the same. When they get here, they'll be sure that we dropped the clothes as we ran away." "Well, it's true," gasped Mei Ling. "No, not at all," Chengli said. He helped Mei Ling to her feet and turned so that he could hoist her up onto his back. Stumbling under Mei Ling's weight, he crossed the grass and moved into the forest, heading back toward the settlement. "What are you doing?" Mei Ling whispered. "We can't go back." "That is exactly what Haza and his men will think," said Chengli. "But we are high above the valley now. No one will think to look this way. Shh! I hear them." Chengli stopped and set Mei Ling down under the branches of a spruce tree. In the distance they saw 2 of Haza's men rounding the bend right where the clothes were dumped. The man in front saw the jacket and waved to his companion. The 2 men disappeared, following the trail that Chengli had set. "Come on, now we can move. We must stay hidden, but there is no need to hurry. The men have gone the other way." He looked at Mei Ling, her face white with pain. "Please don't die," he thought. "I've spent months trying to find you. Don't die now." Chengli carried the princess on his back until they reached the boulders where he had hidden his horse. What if the horse wasn't there? What if someone had found it and waited there to capture them again? What if... "We're here," he said to Mei Ling as he turned the corner into the enclosure, "and we're safe. The horse is here, just the way I left it." He set Mei Ling on the ground and threw himself down full length beside her body as she lay sobbing and laughing. "I'm all mixed up," said Mei Ling between sobs. "I'm happy and scared and tired, and my arm hurts. It really hurts. I wish we could rest, but we have to get away from here." Chengli helped Mei Ling get on the horse. Then he walked in front, leading. Up through the trees they picked their way until they crossed over the ridge. "Now," said Chengli, "we can ride. No, wait." He took his hat from where it was tucked under the saddle blanket, pulled the crumpled eagle feathers out from under his belt, and jabbed them into the top of his hat. "Hogenius, Tokta," he called into the wind. "See my eagle feathers? They told the world that I am now an official thief. I'm rescuing the princess, but to do it, I am stealing your horse."